key situations happening in the state. We need to bring you up to speed. But we go, all the way back to the federal scene where we had already reported the death of the Chief of Army Staff of Nigeria, Tarid Lagbaja, at the age of 56. Now, that news broke yesterday. We have a security expert, as I earlier introduced, Dr. Yahuza Getso, and we'll look into the impact of the passing of the Chief of Army Staff. Not that this is the first time that it's happening in Nigeria, but we need to successively look. When we lose somebody who has come into the agency with a blueprint, what then happens to the activities of the agency, especially with the blueprint? So this is the conversation that we're going to be having. Good morning, Dr. Yahuza, once again.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, team. How are you?
Very fine, thank you. I'm going to ask you, as a security expert, how are you doing, and how did you take the news of the demise of Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja? What does this mean for the DHQ and the entire family of defense?
Well, actually, the demise of Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja is a great loss. And it creates a serious gap in effort of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration in fighting the insecurity, or in kind of collaborating and partnering with other agencies and other personnel to ensure that Nigeria is safe and secure. Considering the fact that Tarid Lagbaja has been very honest, very sincere, very hardworking, very committed, really a responsible officer. I have known him in the last 23 years very closely, and I have known him when he was in Ikeja, when he was in Kaduna, when he was in many other battalions that he led. And I have been in operations with him to some extent, and I have conducted background check on him, on his performance and capacity and ability. And it really means a great check-off to the Nigerian Army, especially those operations going on in respective areas of northwestern part of the country, the northeastern part of the country, the north central, the south-south, the southeast, because he has come up with a very beautiful policies, very beautiful ideas, very beautiful strategic action plans, very systematic approach. He is well-organized, responsible officer, very friendly, who always work hard to kind of find a mitigating factor on how to address issues, even considering a newly employed or a newly hired personnel that he is hired today if he can meet that person. In fact, not only there, I know Lagbaja to be going to the market sometimes, interacting. When he was in Kaduna, he will go friendly and initiate a friendly kind of discussions at the markets in order to discuss with the traders in a market. And I know him also, he was doing the something when he was in Lagos. So he's really a very, very, very committed and very passionate about his job, and he knows the job very well, and he has really done very well. And when you look at his coordination mechanism and cooperation and partnering with other agencies, especially his sister agencies of the Nigerian Navy and Nigerian Air Force, as well as the intelligence formations, the National Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DSS, the police, and so on and so forth. And you always see him at the forefront. He always tries to practice so that he demonstrates it in practice. He is very passionate. So his demise will create or have created a serious gap indeed, that will really take time for Nigeria to fill in that gap. Training a general, a lieutenant general is not an easy job. And having someone who built a blueprint and who has designed a policy, who has been working hard with Chief of Defense Staff and other service chiefs, as well as other security agencies, and always on the move always moving around between one formation and the other, between one camp and the other, between one forest and the other, and trying to find or to use the carrot and the stick where necessary. Very diplomatic, very, very honest, very sincere. You know, filling in that gap would be very, very difficult for Nigeria. I really felt for us, for all of us in Nigeria, and I condole his family in particular, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and Nigerians at large, as well as the Nigerian Army and the Chief of Defense Staff over the demise of Lieutenant General COAS Lagbaja. Very friendly. I traveled with him sometimes after his appointment was about 3 months. And we traveled somewhere around the northeastern part of the country. And to some extent, we also traveled somewhere around the northwestern part of the country. And I follow up with him on certain activities he has conducted. And I conduct a feedback follow-up on certain operations that he has been monitoring very well. And he has done very well in managing and responding to many of the bandits in the northwestern part of the country and north central part of the country. So Nigeria will really miss Lagbaja. I feel like crying because I know the man is really very passionate and honest. He's very sincere. In fact,
I'm so
we will all miss Lagbaja, General Lagbaja. He's very honest, very kind, very responsible, very sincere, very patriotic, very passionate. He has Nigeria at heart. He really means well, and he treats his personnel as a friends. I see a leadership quality in him. I see him demonstrating capability and capacity. I see him interacting with the civilian. I see how he promotes civil-military engagement. I see how his policies and blueprint and design strategic systematic approach on how to manage security could have given Nigeria a better, bright future. But I know those guys that he mentored will definitely are expected to continue where he stopped. But he has really done very well, and Nigeria have missed him, and we will continue to miss him. It will not be deleted from our hearts. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Amen, amen. That's a serious prayer, and the emotions are really strong. It's good to, communicate and know that you had experienced Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja personally and professionally in all of these several years of his time. And, coming from that perspective, then we know the quality of the man that we have lost. It's easy for Nigerians to say, oh, the insecurity, in the country is still the same. We're still experiencing banditry. We're still experiencing kidnapping. And if records will serve us right, at the beginning of this year, we recorded a high spate of kidnappings in the FCT and certain, north central, north eastern part of the country. And so these are some of the blames that Nigerians may try to heap on his administration as the chief of army staff. But coming from this perspective also helps us to relate with the man, Tarid Lagbaja, and we absolutely appreciate you for sharing that with us this morning. So part of the things we also want to do is actually look at substantively some of the things that Tarid Lagbaja did in his time as the chief of army staff. To put this in perspective, some of the key things that, him coming on board exposed him to on a larger scale are, complex security issues from ISWAP. We're looking at Boko Haram insurgencies. We're looking at the IPOB activities in the East. Banditry, all theft still fell on his table. We also see persistent header-farmer clashes as part of the things that were on his table to do. And some of the key reports of the fact the quelling of several hideouts of bandits in different parts of the northeast and north central, as it were. These are some of the key things that we know that were achieved during his administration, which has led to the killing of some of the the leaders of these banditry groups. Having worked with him, take us through the process of some of the key successes of his leadership as the Chief of Army Staff.
Well, one major is he tried to delete, or he tried to kind of bring an end of competitiveness among the serving agencies. You know, before the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, during Buhari administration and during the first days of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, there were serious challenges of competitiveness among the serving agencies, especially the sister agencies in the army, in the cycle of the military. That is more often between that of Air Force and that of Nigerian Army, which he later became the Chief of Army Staff. So his ability to kind of embrace, his ability to kind of romance the ideology and the principle of believing that I cannot do it alone is something that has been very essential in helping the improved coordination mechanism between the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, and Nigerian Air Force. Secondly, he made it very clear, he made a lot of submissions on how to kind of revive the lost glory of the passion, compassion, practical and demonstration of ability and show of power between the military and the civilian, where he moves around to almost all the commanding units and the brigades, trying to demonstrate practical capability and ensure that he demonstrates, showing that as if he was still at the NDA, where they were learning the process, kind of. So he was moving around, going to the forest with the operations, not only giving the directives, he was facilitating and participating actively. And at the same time, we can also see from his speeches, if we can go back to his comments and responses, and then the signal messages that he has been sending to the criminals, which has really been proactively demonstrated into practice, and we have seen the results, as you mentioned earlier, neutralizing many of the bandits and the kidnappers, as well as streamlining the affairs of the military. And at the same time, he also worked hard in respect to coming up with a strategic way on how to improve the welfare of both military officers and men in the service, especially in the Nigerian Army, and in partnership with Nigerian Police, Defense Director of State Security Service, and military intelligence and all other agencies, security information that we have, the civil defense, the immigration, and so on. That has also given rebirth of a new kind of systematic operation on how to generate intelligence and how to utilize it. And the sharing formula have really become a kind of a newer and a more better systematic operations. So Nigeria will also, during his lifetime, he was not only the issue of ISWAP, that of issue of South, the oil bunkers, the pirates in the Lake Chad Basin, and in many areas of Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara. He went there. He participated in the operations, not only given the instructions or given the signals or administrative procedure. He is always on the move. He moved around to almost all the formations that we have in the country, and that is to mobilize and to motivate. And he also introduced a kind of accountability mechanism among the senior officers and among the other units and brigades that we have, where he moves around to ensure that the GOCs and everybody, every unit commander is accounting for what he or she have been doing. So it is really, his demise will create a serious gap, or has created a serious gap. But I believe so much that the rest of other officers that he left behind will definitely, I'm confident and convinced that they are going to co-opt kind of the policy, the blueprint, the strategic action plan, the strategic policy development that he has done, his legislative partnership, his effort to partner with Nigeria's legislators in order to find an improvement in and review on certain things that needed quick action. So definitely they are going to copy out of it, and it is going to help President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration in driving the process and reaching the desired objective.
So these are really strong blueprints that we know that late Tarid Lagbaja put in place, and we also know that the men of the armed forces have really talked about the upgrade in their welfare as a result of his leadership. But one question I want to ask on this, so that we wrap this particular conversation up, is so comparatively from the last Chief of Army Staff and the activities of Tarid Lagbaja under the Tinubu-led administration, and comparing the security atmosphere of the country between the Muhammadu Buhari-led administration and the activities done by the late COAS under this administration, how well would you say that security has fared?
Well, it is very, very difficult to make such assessment simply because of many reasons, for which I will outline only three. One, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into power, and there was this crisis, the security challenges in the areas of IPOB, ISWAP, Boko Haram, Bandit, Ansaru, Lakurawa, and the rest. In the last couple of decades. So, but the performance of late General Lagbaja has really demonstrated a kind of, the difference is not only sending the signal, he was going to the field, participating in the operations. And within a short period of time, when he came into being, he was able to neutralize some of the notorious, dangerous key players in the northwestern part of the country, and have been able to streamline to some extent has incapacitated the capacity of the ISWAP and Boko Haram, whereby many of their operations were expelled during his period of time, and also that of south and southeastern part of the country. So to some extent, you can say that it is the enabling environment being given to him by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which I knew if such enabling environment was also given to Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, who was the last Chief of Army Staff before him, definitely Farouk Yahya could have also done something very well. And one other thing is, I knew the General Lagbaja was cooperating and partnering and also carrying along the former Chief of Army Staff, that of General Kazir, that of General Farouk Yahya, that of Hijrika, that of Tukur Yusuf Borate. So he was kind of coordinating with his predecessors so that he didn't forget them. He carried them along. So a kind of interactive sessions were being conducted so that they were all putting heads together to see how they can build a better future. So those are some of the differences. He has those passions, and he go down to meet with men in the field and discuss with them on their issues and challenges And that is how he was able to improve, to some extent, the social welfare of the both officers and men in the service. He has really done very well, to the extent that Nigeria will always remember to write his name with gold pen.
Wow, these are really strong. I mean, to coordinate an expatriate opinion on how to solve the security needs of Nigeria. Like you said, I do hope that the people, and the personnel that he has left behind will follow through with some of the blueprints that he brought to the table. But let's talk for a minute about Olufemi Oluyede, who has been appointed as, the acting chief of army staff. How well do you know his capacity, and what are your expectations around, how he's going to take on this responsibility? Now, with all that you have said, filling a Taoreed Lagbaja's shoe will be a really, really big assignment. The president just recently had to, promote him to the rank of a lieutenant general to be able to take on that responsibility. So talk about Oluyede for a moment.
Well, I know Oluyede very well and very closely in the last 12, 13 years. And I believe he has been very responsible and humble officer. And he has a kind of a very good coordinating mechanisms where he always interacts with other personnel. So I believe that Oluyede is going to build where Lagbaja stopped, and he is going to come up with more newer policies and a more newer operative mechanism and systematic strategic action plans, working with other serving and retired generals in order to coordinate, in order to improve and face the challenges that Nigeria is dealing with, especially those of security challenges. Having known him and having conducted a background check on him, and having worked with him for about 6 times, I believe that Nigeria is lucky to have someone like him, and he needs a lot of support and cooperation of the other men and officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces, as well as the other partner security agencies, that of Civil Defense, Immigration, Correctional Center, DSS, and NIA, Defense Military Intelligence, Defense Intelligence Agency, and all other formations. And I know him to be highly respected among his colleagues. So I believe that something good will come up. And we are going to work with him more closely to provide him with an insight and cooperate with him and coordinate with him in ensuring that Nigeria drive President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's policy towards ensuring that Nigeria is safe and free haven. Definitely, we are going to do everything possible in partnership and collaboration with the 2 serving ministers, the state minister and the federal minister, that is Malam Badr Abubakar, as well as the other stakeholders, to give him all the needed support, and also to follow up with him on certain policies. And I know him in his acting capacity. We have had and we have seen some of systematic approaches that he has started initiating. We have seen a very excellent and good initiatives that convinced President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to have promoted him from his former rank to the rank of a lieutenant general.
Is that something?
And I believe
is that something you think he did?
Going to do something better.
Is that something you think Oluyede did? You think he was the one that suggested, the need for his promotion?
No. I didn't say that he suggested. I said his ability, what he has done in between the time, his demonstration of capacity and ability, and the background check conducted. I know President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, before promoting him to the lieutenant general, must have conducted a background check on him, must have reviewed his quality, capacity, ability, and patriotic mindset, and so on. And his record of work, record of operations, must have been checked before the promotion. And the promotion must be recommended, must be a recommendation follow up from the insights from the Minister of Defense, Malam Badr Abubakar, and other councils, councils, as well as this, the Chief of Defense Staff inputs and so on and so forth. So definitely it's a combination of many things that led to his promotion, not really a recommendation from him, he himself, or from any, or from me. No, it is combination of many forces that led to that. And based on capacity and based on experience, based on record of work, and based on the fact that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu believes that he can entrust his confidence on him. And I hope and I believe, based on my knowledge with him, I said to you that I have known him 13 years ago very well, and I have worked with him about 3 times. So I believe that he has the capacity and he has the ability, and he is going to drive Nigerian army to the promised land.
Okay, so our expectation and our hope now is that Lieutenant General Oluyede would be able to bring his own expertise and, you know, the flavor of who he is, and add to some of the blueprints of the late COAS Lagbaja, and give us, you know, a holistic and better result, you know, at the security firm, as it were. But good luck to him. But let's move on from that conversation and go to Chad. We've seen the presidents of, you know, Chad, in the person of Mohammed Idris Deby, threatening to move his Chadian soldiers out of the, you know, MNJTF. That's a joint task force which should have military personnel from the border nations of West Africa, Nigeria, Niger, Chad itself, that are affected by Boko Haram. And then what the key reason why he's saying he wants to withdraw his soldiers recently, the actual was hit and they lost 40 soldiers, but he's alleging the lack of cooperation with all of the, you know, security architecture from all of these other African nations to address the Boko Haram insurgency that has been, you know, left on rampage, so to speak, in over a decade. Recently, he himself moved to the front of the war against Boko Haram in Chad. And a report that we got yesterday said as a result of that, we've had several bandits move into villages in Borno village. Is the security detail of the Nigerian army and the entire defense architecture aware of this activity and how this is going to affect you know, the state of security in the north?
Defense intelligence, the Nigerian defense headquarters is aware of all that has been happening, and I think he's just sending a signal warning, and it is going to affect both Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad himself, his own country. And I believe that Nigerian government and other COAS formations or other states around this belt, as you mentioned, will not allow Chadian government to withdraw, because one fact about it is all these states you mentioned, Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, Chad, to some extent Burkina Faso, Mali, Senegal, they are all being understaffed. And they all know the implication of allowing these criminals. And if he withdraw, it is going to have more effect and more impact on his country than Nigeria, Cameroon, and Niger. And I believe that I'm advocating for all the states, that of Nigeria, Niger, Cameroon, and Chad, to sit up to their responsibility and quickly come back to the drawing board and discuss these issues and find a lasting solution to it before it gets out of hand. Because the issue of the activities of Boko Haram, the activities of ISWAP, as well as other challenges, security challenges bedeviling the states around these areas, is really not going to help matters and not really going to be easy if the Chadian government withdraw its personnel or its efforts, its contribution or corporate partnership. The corporation will not be allowed to die. So I believe that there must be a kind of a quick diplomatic discourse, a quick diplomatic intervention, a quick bilateral discussions and multilateral discussion, as well as the regional cooperation and regional discussion and regional meetings that will not allow the president of Chad to achieve what he had wanted to. It's just a warning.
It's just a warning, and just like you said, we do hope that the presidents of all the the nations on this corridor would take this warning really seriously, because I mean, the Chadian military has been lauded to be very, very effective, in their pursuit of sovereignty and all of those things. But now let's go to the fact that his current fight against these activities around his own border has pushed these bandits into communities in Borno villages. And just this morning we talked about the fact that about 100 persons were abducted in Zamfara and about 50 others in another state of the north this morning. Do you think that these activities are already exacerbating the state of security in Nigeria?
Yes, indeed, of course. Nigeria is being faced with a serious understaffing. We don't really have adequate manpower to fight the security challenges that we have. So for this and on this, I'm advocating for the legislators, the Federal Executive Council, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration to please conduct a massive recruitment, at least 100 per polling unit, used between the age of, so have 10 political wards, 10 polling unit in a political ward. 100 times 10 will give you 1,000. If you have 10 political wards in a given local government, you are going to have 10,000 personnel. So let's assume that we can pilot this in 500 out of 773 local governments that we have in Nigeria. Let's distribute them between the security formations that we have. That will help us in mitigating and finding a lasting solution. Because Nigeria has the capacity and ability and everything needed to fight the current bedeviling security challenges that we have. I don't believe in kind of borrowing the foreign machineries. I believe that Nigeria has the capacity and the ability, and we have the passionate and enthusiastic and patriotic troops that can be able to eliminate and bring an end of all this war. But what we need is to do a lot of investment, technological investment, and do a lot of human investment, human capital development, do a lot of massive recruitment, and also change our strategy in fighting corruption, because corruption is really we are really diving into the river of corruption, and that has really been affecting our security activity. And at the same time, Nigeria needs to kind of find a way of regaining its lost to glory in terms of the respect it has between itself and the neighborhood, especially those countries of Chad, Cameroon, and the rest of them. So I believe that we can do it, and we have the capacity and we have the ability, and we can deliver. And I believe so much that Nigeria's capacity and ability will help in delivering what is needed and in reaching out the desired objective. So I believe that Nigerian government and other states around this corridor will not allow Chad to withdraw. And then with the emergence of the new Chief of Army Staff, in partnership with other security formations, I am making a clarion call that they need to sit up to their responsibility and do the needful, so that we can be able to sustain the tempo and find a way of deleting and eliminating all these challenges that we have around this corridor.
Okay, just before I let you go, Dr. Yauza Getso, you raised the concern of the fact that we are understaffed where the military is concerned. But my question and concern this morning is, do we have Nigerians that are willing and desirous to become part of the security architecture of Nigeria? Do you think we have enthusiastic youths that want to, sign up to the Nigerian military, the Navy, especially the Nigerian military?
Yes, of course we have. The reasons are three. Anytime the portal of the Nigerian Army or Nigerian Air Force or Nigerian Navy is open, when you see the thousands and millions of Nigerian youths that are applying, you know that we still have people who have passion and compassion and who are really interested in the job. That is one. Secondly, the Chief of Defense Staff have made it several times, have made it very clear that we need recruitment, we need massive recruitment. And based on assessment, even from the data from the National Bureau of Statistics, you can compare the total number of the personnel that we have and the total number, and you're looking at the ratio of the unemployed youth. Definitely there are thousands and hundreds of youths who are willing and who are ready to join the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and Nigerian Navy. The answer is yes, and I'm saying it in capital letter, bold and italic, and underlined.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Dr. Yahuza Getse this morning, a reputable security expert in the country. Of course, he has already taken us through his quality of work with the just passed Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General COAS Lagbaja. Thank you so much for bringing perspective to the life and times of the late COAS this morning. We absolutely appreciate your investment in the conversation of security in Nigeria. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Have a pleasant day.